The community pool at Lakeview Estates was supposed to be the highlight of summer, a place where families came together, children splashed under the watchful eyes of lifeguards, and neighbors chatted over lemonade. That Saturday began like any other end-of-season barbecue. The HOA president, Diane Karen Roberts, organized. The sun was high, the sky a perfect cloudless blue, and my daughter, 12-year-old Ava, clutched my hand at the shallow end. She'd never learned to swim. Her coordination issues made lessons difficult, so she wore a bright lime green life vest that our local fire department had fitted the week before. Karen arrived with her usual flair, sun hat clipped with a plastic sunflower, clipboard in hand, clipboard already listing fun contests for her social media post. Her Dive In Challenge, a lighthearted game where volunteers were to jump from the edge into waist-deep water, was supposed to be no big deal. No one questioned it when Diane skipped the lifeguard briefing or canceled the scheduled safety talk because it would bore the kids. When it came time, she called for volunteers, scanning the crowd with that perfectly insulated smile. She tapped Ava on the shoulder. "Come on, sweetheart. Show everyone how strong you are." Ava's face lit up. She craved the approval. I hesitated, heart pounding, but Diane's voice carried across the water. "Come on. We're all friends here." Before I could step forward, Diane gave Ava a firm push. The motion was gentle but decisive. A quick nudge meant to look playful, but the life vest straps had come loose during the morning's games, and the vest slipped up around Ava's chin, trapping her arms and preventing her from paddling. She hit the poolside unprepared, sank beneath the surface, and sank again with a muffled cry that seemed impossibly small in the roar of laughter and splashing. I dove in fully clothed, feet kicking off the bottom, instinct overriding shock. The other parents hesitated. No one wanted to touch the water until I reached Ava. I hauled her out, water streaming from her hair, vest dangling useless around her torso. I yelled for someone to call 911, but my voice cracked. Firefighters and EMTs arrived in minutes, far too long. They pried the vest off, started chest compressions, and rushed her to the hospital in the ambulance's wailing siren. At the ER, doctors fought against time. I stood by Ava's stretcher, clutching her soggy goggles and the soggy segment of her life vest strap I'd ripped free. The lead doctor kept his face impassive, then finally shook his head. "I'm sorry. She suffered massive water inhalation. She didn't make it." In the days that followed, Lakeview Estates felt swallowed by grief. The HOA released a 2-sentence statement expressing deep sorrow. Diane's newsletter went out, brightly colored, tinted pink, but contained no apology. Neighbors met in hushed clusters. Some defended Diane, saying it had to be an accident. Others privately blamed her carelessness. I couldn't accept it as an accident. My lawyer found the pool video, tiny footage of Diane's push, Ava's splash, her desperate struggle beneath the surface. It showed Diane had ignored the lifeguard's shouted warnings not to start contests without proper equipment and safety checks. We filed a wrongful death claim for negligence and gross misconduct. Meanwhile, my husband and I tried to rebuild a life without our daughter. Every creak in the floor echoed her name. Every mirror reflected the memory of her pink goggles. I installed a bench of roses, Ava's favorite flower, near the patio. At night, I listened for laughter that would never return. The lawsuit forced Diane Roberts and the HOA board into defense mode. They produced the event permit, signed off by Diane alone, and a clause in their handbook granting her power to organize community activities. They claimed no rule required life vest inspections or lifeguard approvals for shallow end games. The lifeguard on duty had been reassigned at Diane's request so she could manage the games alone. But the video was clear. Diane pushed a non-swimmer into deeper water, ignored loose straps, and canceled safety protocols. Her failure to secure Ava's vest was reckless. The board's insurance company began private settlement talks even before depositions concluded. I still can't drive past that pool. Yet by speaking out, subpoenaing the pool deck footage, demanding answers in depositions, I forced the HOA to confront its culture of unchecked power. I refused to accept that my daughter was an accident or just a tragic oversight. Her life deserved more than silence. The morning after Ava's funeral, Lakeview Estates felt hollow. The laughter that once echoed off the brick walls of our cul-de-sac was gone. The pool sat eerily still beneath Kirby blue water, its diving board empty. I rolled the event footage on my laptop again. Diane's finger jab, Ava's trusting smile, the vest strap slipping free. My chest tightened with every replay. At the HOA office, I delivered a formal letter demanding board action. I spelled out the violations: unapproved contest, no lifeguard oversight, failure to inspect safety gear. I requested Diane's immediate suspension and a full independent investigation. The board secretary, a timid young man named Paul, took the letter with shaking hands. "We'll address it at our next meeting," he said, eyes downcast. That Wednesday evening, I arrived early at the community clubhouse. A dozen neighbors filled the folding chairs. Some wore sympathetic looks, others steeled themselves. Diane sat at the head table, sunk into her seat, cheeks pale, hands folded. No clipboard tonight, just a stack of HOA binders. The meeting opened with routine business: vote on painting the pool house and rules for holiday lights. Then my name was called under new business. I stood, voice trembling but determined. "I'm here to demand answers about the tragic death of my daughter, Ava," I began. I clicked the projector remote. On the screen appeared still frames. Diane's push, the loose straps. A murmur rippled through the crowd. I held their gaze. Diane canceled the lifeguard's briefing and reassigned him to the snack bar. She skipped the safety protocol requiring a vest inspection station. Then she personally pushed a non-swimmer into water deeper than her height. I watched Diane's shoulders twitch. This was negligence, gross misconduct, and a breach of every duty owed to our children. A hand shot up. Mrs. Patel, whose son had been Ava's best friend. "You speak for all of us," she said, voice thick. "We trusted Diane." Several neighbors murmured assent. A retired firefighter, Mr. Hernandez, nodded and added, "I've worked hundreds of pool events, Nas. Never have I seen such disregard for basic safety." Under pressure, the board agreed to form an independent review panel with 3 community members, including me. Diane pleaded to make amends, promising retraining and donation of her own funds for swim lesson scholarships. My husband, David, whispered, "Don't let her off the hook." I shook my head. No forgiveness yet. Over the next 2 weeks, the panel conducted interviews and gathered documentation. We learned Diane had intentionally delayed vest inspections, believing the contests too fun to spoil with rules. She'd skipped lifeguard coordination to streamline the schedule, and she dismissed concerns from 2 parents who warned her Ava couldn't swim. As our report neared completion, I sensed Diane's desperation. She posted a public apology on the HOA message board, but it was hollow, lacking any admission of fault. She offered free pool passes, swim lessons at her expense, and a promise to do better. But no words could bring back my daughter. On the night the panel presented its findings, the clubhouse was packed. The panel chair, a local attorney, laid out the facts. Diane violated 3 HOA safety bylaws, ignored emergency response procedures, and directly caused a preventable death. We recommended Diane's permanent removal, mandatory community safety training for all board members, and a fund in Ava's name for life vest inspections at every event. Diane rose to speak. She avoided eye contact, voice shaking. "I'm so sorry. I never meant." She paused, tears in her eyes. "I was trying to make the event memorable." The phrase felt grotesque. Make it memorable? My daughter's life was the cost. The board voted unanimously to expel Diane from all HOA roles and revoke her privileges. They also voted to rename the annual end-of-summer barbecue Ava's Day, with mandatory safety demonstrations and free swim lessons scholarships for non-swimmers. Outside, neighbors embraced. Mrs. Patel hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. "You did it," she whispered. "For Ava." I nodded, tears streaming. That night, I returned to the pool deck alone. The blue tiles glistened under the floodlights. I placed Ava's pink goggles on the edge and paused. A single life vest, properly fitted, hung on the lifeguard chair. I whispered, "This is for you, sweet girl." Then I walked away, leaving the pool to its gentle ripples. In the days after Diane's expulsion, Lakeview Estates felt oddly quiet. The pool's lifeguard chairs sat empty, the diving board unstepped for the first time in years. I kept replaying the panel's recommendations in my head, determined to make every safety measure stick. My husband, David, spent evenings installing a new lockbox by our gate. Only certified adults could access it, each member required to check in before the pool opened. Meanwhile, I founded Ava's Watch, a neighborhood volunteer team dedicated to child safety at all community events. We trained parents in basic water rescue, held monthly vest fitting sessions, and posted clear signage at every pool, pond, and fountain. Some neighbors grumbled, complaining it was overkill. But when Mrs. Patel's grandson fell off the kiddie slide and scraped his elbow, Ava's watch members were there within seconds with a first aid kit. The relief on Mrs. Patel's face reminded me that vigilance could save lives. At school, a new scholarship bearing Ava's name funded swim lessons for non-swimmers. Every Wednesday afternoon, I watched local instructors guide timid children through water drills. One small boy, clutching a purple vest, reached for his mother's hand, then dipped in gingerly. His smile when he surfaced was worth every tear. I felt Ava's presence in each giggle and splash. Still, healing was uneven. I drove past the pool less often, but when I did, memories surged like crashing waves. Some nights I'd stand by my daughter's rose bench memorial near the patio, cradling her faded goggles. "You'd love to see this," I'd whisper, brushing petals. The roses thrived, red and vibrant, a contradiction to the pool's blue sorrow. The HOA board, under interim President Paul, began meeting quarterly to review safety metrics. We tracked every incident, near drownings, minor slips, even how many children wore life vests versus bulky inner tubes. Transparency replaced secrecy. At one meeting, Paul read aloud the report, "Zero serious incidents in 3 months." Applause followed, not for him, but for the entire community's renewed commitment. I also pushed for mandatory compassion training for all HOA volunteers. They learned to recognize trauma, listen without judgment, and never prioritize fun over well-being. At the first session, several longtime members confessed they'd resisted, fearing it was too soft. By the end, tears flowed freely as participants shared regrets from past enforcement over minor infractions. A woman admitted she'd once lectured a single mother for holding her toddler in the wrong stroller seat. "I'd never do that again," she vowed. Lakeview Estates even opened its clubhouse for open mic nights called Stories by the Pool. Neighbors shared tales of joy and grief, baptism day swims, late night skinny dips, poolside proposals. Each confession wove a tapestry of connection, erasing the isolation Diane had created. At the third story night, I told Ava's tale. The room fell silent as I described her trusting smile and that fatal push. When I finished, a hush lingered before everyone rose, some clutching children, others wiping eyes. It felt like an unspoken promise. We would remember her and protect each other. One warm afternoon, I walked over to the pool with my niece, Lily, aged 8. Lily wore Ava's old life vest, now refitted, and giggled as water sprayed around her. I felt my chest expand with cautious hope. When Lily splashed and called, "Look, Auntie," I realized fear no longer ruled these waters. That evening, as the sun dipped low, I sat on the pool deck and traced the engraved words on the Ava's Day plaque, "In loving memory of Ava Roberts. May laughter and safety reign here always." The pool's surface rippled in the golden light. For the first time since that tragic day, the memory of my daughter felt less like a wound and more like a guiding star, reminding us that care and community could heal even the deepest pain.